HP, what did you do? I need answers. Why did you do this? Why would you build the perfect laptop for 2020? Why would you craft the perfect device and then leave it with one serious fatal flaw that just unravels everything that this device tries to do? Just why? Just help me understand why you would do something like this. I'm talking about none other than HP Spectre x360 15-inch 2020 for Canadian models. There are two versions. One is a lighter version, and the second one comes with an integrated graphics card. So this is the one with the graphics card, and it's top of the line. This is like flagship device from HP. Before I begin with the laptop, let's just take some time to talk about the packaging that it came in itself. It's arguably one of the best packages I received for a laptop. The last best one I received was for Asus ZenBook UX301. So it was a premium device. So it came with a very good, outer box, and it felt very premium. And this is a premium device, so you wouldn't expect anything less. This is something that Windows, manufacturers do better than, say, the Fruit company. But it's got two different shades. It's the same colors as the laptop itself. On the top, you got the dark ash cover, and on the base, this is a gold color. And you got the HP logo here. And that's the same as the gold color that's on the laptop on the edges. So, HP did a good job here. Good job, HP, It's very good. So, coming on to the device is just marvelous. If you look here, it's very compact. If I'll show you the bezels, they're very thin, but from the outside, it looks like a very portable device that you could hold in one hand and carry it around. So as with the box on the top, it's got this dark ash color, anodized aluminum, I believe, and on the edges, these are chamfered edges. If you look closer, there, and these are gold colored all around. And it is a gem cut design. It's beautiful when you look at it. And at the bottom, you have this massive grill, which I really like for thermal performance. Like you have MacBooks or you have other more sleeker devices like the Surface, but because they overheat, the internals get throttled. It doesn't add to the aesthetic, like it takes away from the aesthetics, but it is very good at keeping things cool and keeping things running at a good performance range. If you look on the side here, you have micro SD card slot, which is great. I used to have a DSLR, which came with SD card storage. So if you want to take out pictures from any device or a phone, let's just say, just slot in this card and you'll get your data out. This is the exhaust vent. It's not pretty, you could say, but it still looks good. It does look very futuristic. So then you have the webcam kill switch. This little sticker showing how it works. Okay, it came off, but anyway, it's still there. For people who are concerned about their privacy, you can turn it on or off. Then you have full-size USB, which many manufacturers are doing away with. So it's pretty cool that HP kept a full-size USB port, so that whenever you're working, you just want to copy data onto a thumb drive, and you don't have to search around for dongles or anything just to copy data from one computer to another. So it's great to have this port here. Other cool stuff is that it's got two USB-C 3 USB-C ports, and they are Thunderbolt 3 enabled, so that's great too. So for connecting to external external monitors, external GPUs, it's great to have these ports. And many new devices are USB-C, such as your phone. So connecting from USB-C to USB-C would be It'd be great. At the back, you see these iconic hinges that make this laptop into an x360. If you see here, the engraving for Spectre is here. It gives it a good look, you know? Yeah, there it is. Okay. On the left-hand side, we have a charger. I'm not a big fan of the charger because as Apple with their MacBook, 2020 MacBooks, they charge through the USB-C ports. I'm kind of a bigger fan of that. But, you know, it's okay. It's 135-watt charger. It does its job. But it could have been given a more sleeker look if, you know, this port was not here. This is the power button, which I'm a very big fan of. I did a previous video on the Envy x360, and this was my biggest complaint because when the laptop was in, say, temp mode, there was no way to turn on this laptop and turn on the Envy x360 because the hinges here, when they go, you know, at a certain angle like this, for example, like that, there is like a mechanism inside which deactivates all the buttons and all the keyboards and the touchpad. So when you were in this mode and when your laptop went to sleep, you could not turn it on. But this is not the case here. They have an external, they have another power button outside here, which enables, you know, when your laptop goes to sleep, you can turn it on. So it's good thinking from HP. Another grill and 3.5mm headset jack. So, you know, HP did a very good job with the design. It's very sleek. It's a bit thicker, but it's a fair compromise considering the thermals that you have to worry about. So, you know, this is a very solid device. It's solidly built. There's no creaking when you're opening it up. You know, it's very silent. There is no flex on the top here. It feels very good in your hand, and the top texture is just great. It's you can make an ASMR video out of this. It just feels good. It feels premium. I like the color. I like how it looks. I like the gold accents everywhere. It's a good contrast. You know, it's a very good looking device, I would say. You know, HP. I think this design language came out in 2018, 2019, and since then HP has been refining it with their gem cut design. You know, I remember this, but back in the day, this same laptop had massive bezel on the top and on the bottom, so it wasn't as compact as this one. So in 2020, they really managed to compress the size and just, you know, make it very easy to handle. So as I was saying, it's heavier than, say, a MacBook, but because it's got a bigger profile in your hand, it feels lighter than the MacBook, and that's probably because, you know, it's got a bigger body, so the weight is distributed more, and it feels lighter in your hand as well. Whereas this one is much thinner, and it feels a bit heavier. There's more pressure, you know. Some basic physics, force over area, and all that. But then, you know, this is something that I would want to be seen around with. You know, it's very good looking. Talk about the specs in this thing, which are quite mind-blowing considering its price range. You know, so it comes with 1.7 gigahertz. Sorry, Core i7, 2.6 gigahertz processor. I believe it's hexa-core, 10750H. So it's 10th generation and it's H series. So what H series means is that it's a very beefy version of the processor. U versions are more meant for ultrabooks and more portable laptops because they have, you know, lower power requirements and lower thermal dissipation requirements, so they can fit those processors in thinner laptops. But the problem with that is that their base clock frequency is very low, so it would be around 1.3, 1.4 gigahertz. This is 2.6 with max turbo frequency, 5 gigahertz, I believe. Then we have 16 gigabytes of RAM. So when I was buying this laptop, that was like the only concern I had. Like everything about it sounded perfect on paper, but the RAM is soldered onto the motherboard, so it's not upgradable. At least it's not 8 gigabytes, but I wish, you know, there was an option to upgrade it to make it more future-proof. But 16 gigabytes is not bad. It's fine. It's somewhat future-proof, but just not, you know, extremely future-proof. And lastly, we have 1 terabyte of SSD. You know, base storage. It's massive. It's perfect. It's enough for your Call of Duty, you know, data requirements. Say 1 terabyte is a great option and is expandable. So if 1 terabyte is not enough, I don't know how many slots there are, but it is expandable or removable. And if you're not happy with the storage, you have this SD card slot. If you are not, if you just want to increase the storage, get a 256 gigabyte or 512 gigabyte SD card and slot it in, and you have, you know, 50% more storage. Although SD card might not be as fast as the internal SSD, but you know, not everyone needs speed. Lastly, like the flagship feature, I would say for this flagship device would be the 1650 GTX 1650 Ti Max Q 4 gigabyte graphics card. So 1650, the normal 1650, there's a normal 1650, then there is a Ti, I believe it's for titanium, is like a better version of the base model. So, but at the same time, it's the laptop version. So 1650 Ti for laptop would be the same as 1650 for desktop. So as you can tell, not only does this laptop look good, it's got great specs. You know, it's got a very powerful processor, massive amount of storage, great graphics performance. I want to say like desktop great, but you know, compared to like Intel UHD, having a 4 gigabyte GTX 1650 card, which I would say is a mid-range card, is very good. And then we have RAM is the only issue, which is not expandable. While I was holding this laptop, I also forgot to mention about these rubber strips, which run along the length of the laptop. For other laptops, I found that, you know, they have these nubs on the corners on each side, 4 nubs. But I feel like, you know, these strips are massive, running on 2 sides. So when they're on the desk, you know, there's less chance of it slipping. So I think yeah, the MacBook has the 4. So you know, I prefer the rubber strips on the HP. And on the inside, it's again it's very good looking. So you have a backlit keyboard, full-size keyboard, and you have the numpad here. It's fine, you know, like it's great for, you know, engineering students, for example, or people who really like to crunch numbers. It's good to have this this numpad, but it's not necessary. Here you have the touchpad itself, right here. Not too big. It's much wider than it's taller. It does what it does. You know, it's like all other Windows touchpads. Nothing to write home about, but it does its job. You have your stickers here for, you know, Core i7, GTX, and over here you have your fingerprint sensor. And as I was talking about previously, you got these 4 nubs for, you know, when it's in this mode. And if we flip it back, we have on the top, we have the speaker grill over here, right here. We have, sorry about that. We have the speaker grill around here. We have the iconic hinges, and we have the screen itself, which is I said the graphics card is flagship feature, but I would say this is the best feature of this laptop. It is 4K resolution, so it's extremely sharp. You know, like there's just it's very hard to notice pixelation, like unless you're only a couple inches away from the screen, and it's touch screen, and it's come with its own digitizer, and this digitizer is great because it does not come with a battery. You slide it up a bit, and then you have a slot, USB-C slot, and you can use that to charge it from the laptop, which is great thinking, you know, HP. So you can use your pen, you can use touch, and best of all, it's OLED. Like the colors on this thing, they're just amazing. Like I'm watching the video right now, and the video does no justice to how amazing the colors look on this. Like colors just pop, you know, they just come at you. Like the reds, like if you've never seen the red progress bar of YouTube on an OLED display, like you will never want to come back from that. Like that's how good it is. Not to mention, just notice the bezels. Like look at how thin they are. And if that wasn't enough, there is an IR scanner over here. If you don't want to use your fingerprint sensor, you can use your face to log in, and it's much more convenient. Like there's no time to, like, you know, reach out and touch your sensor. Like you open your screen, the screen is looking at you, it scans your face and logs you in. Like how cool is that? In comparison, these are the MacBook bezels, which do look a little outdated. You know, they do look like an older laptop, but you know, I just like how modern Windows 2020 laptops, they try to minimize the bezels the best they can. You can talk about Asus XPS from Dell, or I don't know who, Surface. It's kind of a device from the past, but you know, like typical manufacturers, they're doing a great job at minimizing the bezels. And when you're like, it's 15 inches, and when you just open up your laptop, like there's no bezel, it's just all screen. You know, like the text is just it's just floating in the air. when it's on your lap, when it's on your desk, the screen is just suspended, and you know, it's just floating in front of you. It's just, and even look at the viewing angles. Like that is just crazy good, you know. One thing which isn't so impressive, like it said about the touchpad. I wish for the touchpad, you know, they moved the speaker elsewhere to push the keyboard up, or got rid of the numpad, and just expand the touchpad like Mac or like XPS. You know, I just wish there was a bigger touchpad. This feels a little short, unfortunately. Keyboard, it's a keyboard. There's nothing to write home about. You know, it does what it's supposed to do, but it does what it needs to do. That's the main point. You know, it's nothing exquisite, nothing perfect, but it's a bit wobbly, I felt. And coming from the Mac, it took a bit of getting used to, because all the keys are centered, but because you have a numpad, like the whole keyboard is just shifted more to the left. It's a bit harder to start getting used to and start typing. But you know, it's great. So talking about keyboard, you know, I'm not an Apple fanboy or anything. You know, I don't like Apple that much. They do what they do. They do it good, or great, you could say. But you know, I don't like them too much. I do like to experience their products. So what I found, that sometimes, you know, companies come with these monikers like FaceTime camera on this thing. I don't know why companies do that. Like it's terrible. It's 0.7 megapixels. I think my iPod from 2010 had a 0.9 megapixel camera, if I'm not wrong. But the keyboard for 2020, the Magic Keyboard, really lives up to its name. Like when you're typing, I wasn't expecting this. You know, I just wanted to experience Mac OS. That's why I bought a MacBook. But when you're typing, like, words just flow out of your fingers. It is quite magical, I would say. And just look at the size of that touchpad. Like, that thing is massive. Like, look at that. In comparison, you know, when I moved to the Spectre x360, I didn't get the magical feeling from the keyboard. And again, the touchpad is quite tiny in comparison. So just small downgrades, but you know, it's okay. You know, you gotta make some compromises in life from time to time. So that's internal. So, you know, I've been raving on about how good the screen is and x360, so it can of course, you know, turn it into a tablet mode, and, you know, take advantage of the beautiful screen. But when I was talking about the fatal flaw for this laptop, it's the screen itself. I mean, it's so perfect. It's 4K, it's OLED, it's touch enabled, it's digitizer enabled. It's everything that you could ask for. It's a serious, you know, Surface contender. But I think because it is touch enabled and because of technologies that HP went with in this laptop, you're not able to take full advantage of the crispness of 4K or OLED. I mean, OLED is fine, I guess. You could, you know, the colors still look great, but the resolution is just ruined by the technologies that HP put into this display. I'm not sure if this is just my device or if it's specific to Canadian Spectre x360s, or if it's for all devices. You know, there are very few videos of this laptop on YouTube. The specific model with the GTX 1650, and there are a handful of, you know, articles reviewing the laptop, but none of them mention how bad the screen is. You know, I don't know. For me, it's bad. For some others, it might not be bad, but it's not perfect. You know. So I was kind of surprised that no one mentioned this, but when you search the problem after you get the laptop and you're just disappointed, like what is going on with the screen? When you type it into Google, you will find a lot of people finding the same issue with the screen, and that is that so because this is touch enabled, I'm not 100% sure how these technologies work, but from what I read, the gist is that you have a display at the back, and then you have a digitizer panel that makes it touch enabled. So you can think of it as a very fine mesh or a net that goes on top of the screen, which is obviously electric in nature, so that, you know, it can detect where you're touching and using your pen and give that response to the computer. So what happens is, when you're with that digitizer layer, it distorts the picture, and when you're looking at a very plain white, you know, screen, or say this part of the screen where it's just white, like that layer, that net or that mesh is visible, and it gives this very textured appearance to this. You can't see this here. You can't see that texture here. I'll try to do a close-up video later, and I'll show you what I mean. But that just ruins the viewing experience on this laptop, and that's especially disappointing when, you know, it's a premium device. It's 2020. It's a premium device, and it's not a problem on other laptops. For example, I've used the Surface or your phones. You know, they have high resolution, but you don't see that dotted texture on entire white screen. So I've used the Surface, and it's got a slightly lower resolution, 3000 by 2000, but it's pixels on display. But I never noticed this matrix this dotted matrix on display, and that's how I know that, you know, this is not how 4K displays are supposed to be. This laptop does come with a slightly higher resolution. Let me just check what it is. I don't know the exact. It's 3840 by 2160. Pixel sense is 3000 by 2000, 3K by 2K. So, you know, it doesn't look good. Like, it honestly reminds me of back when in 2010, I had, like, my Envy had resolution of 1366 by 768, you know, like those days. Like, that's how bad the text looks, despite having high resolution and great colors. As I was mentioning the mesh, it's very visible when you are using light colors here. It's like at, you know, a viewing distance, it's still noticeable. Like, it just doesn't go away. Like, I would have been okay with this display, like, if you got really close and then you noticed, you know, the matrix, but even if you double the viewing distance, it's still there, and it's just very annoying. And it's kind of hidden in, like, darker colors, you know? Where are the settings here? So it's very hard to notice in this one, but then you still have these white, you know, sections on the screen where it's just looking at you and making you, like, just regret what you bought, you know. I really wanted to love this laptop because, you know, it looks great. Its specs are excellent. The screen is perfect. You know, it's got all the modern bells and whistles, such as the IR display, the fingerprint sensor, the Thunderbolt 3 for eGPUs, full-size HDMI. You know, it was a perfect laptop. Like, I was very excited to get it. I even maxed out my credit card, and that's a big deal considering that I'm a student. So I thought Envy x360 was bad, but this has been, like, the most disappointing technology I've owned, I would say. You know, it's just HP just botched it here. That's the truth. That's how I would summarize this video. Just, I hope that, you know, I've seen a UK review, and I don't think I noticed this display issue, but for many of them, I would say, like, many of the reviewers who are not, you know, tech savvy, I would say that maybe it's their first time they're coming to a very high resolution display or a very high resolution desktop or laptop, and, you know, because it's their first 4K display, they think this is what it's supposed to look like, right? But I've used the MacBook with the Retina display. I've used the Surface Book, and I for a fact know that this is not what 4K displays are supposed to look like. It should not look worse than full HD. Like, come on, you know, it's a very expensive device, and that's not how it should be. But apart from that, it's, you know, for HP, like, they're a company very close to my heart, I would say. We've had 4 HP laptops. The first one wasn't that great, but the second one I bought was in 2012. It still runs great. You know, my brother has it now. My sister has an HP Pavilion x360. It feels great too. Like, that's, you know, when I saw our x360, when I used it, I knew that I needed an x360 too, but really wanted to keep it, but unfortunately I can't. I'll be returning this. So yeah, thanks for watching. This is the MacBook display, the Retina display. In comparison, you could call this a 2K display, I guess. If you zoom in closely, you don't see the textured appearance, but you would notice. Here we go. Yeah, there we go.
you would notice pixelation. As you see here, let me just focus over here. Yeah, there we go. So you do notice the pixelation, but it's you don't see that dirty textured feeling or appearance on this screen. You know, it's pixelation, but it's like I'm zoomed in like 2 times on this phone, and it's there, but it's only if you're like getting very close and if you notice it. But that is not the case on the Spectre x360. Despite this display having a higher resolution of 4K, you see that it's a very bad quality, and I believe it's not the resolution or the display itself, but it's the layer that goes on top that allows it to be touch enabled. And it just absolutely ruins the viewing experience for you. Like, you would expect very sharp text, which can be kind of noticed here, but there's no pixelation as compared to the Mac, but it's still, you know, it's very textured, and there are all these dots that you just cannot help but not notice. You know, this does go away when we use a darker display. Sorry, I'm trying to use one hand to record. You know, it's not noticeable, but I believe that's because it's an OLED display. So, you know, that's the thing about OLED displays, that what it gives like excellent contrast is that it has this ability to turn on individual pixels. So only these pixels are lit up, the purple and the white, and when it's black, the screen turns off, or those individual pixels turn off. See, this, like, it cannot be ignored. Just look at this. You don't see it on other, like, look at that, it's 4K, but it does not look like 4K. How disappointing. You know, it kind of gives you the feeling of those the static that you saw on old TVs, but it's a very much like modern static. But it's not static, it's just the technology that's used here. Even though if you look at 4K here, okay, yeah, the text is very sharp. You know, it's just, there's barely any pixelation, but when you go to whites, you know, it's this sea of dots, and it just gives it a very ugly appearance. You know, it's like it's dirty, and it's dirty on the inside, and there's no way to clean it. It's like just these very fine particles of dust that you just can't get rid of. Like, that's how it feels when you're looking at this display.
So other things HP did right, except the screen. It's not related to the device itself, but their service. So I was able to receive this this laptop within less than 14 days, in less than 2 weeks, 13 days to be exact. So that's quite impressive, as I live on the tip of North America, the easternmost tip, and it's shipped from Ontario. But given all the the coronavirus situation going around, it was very impressive. I was impressed by how quickly I received the item. Secondly, for HP, there is educational pricing, but you have to dig around for it. It's called HP Academy Canada. So it's available to K-12 and then higher education students. So you fill in the form, and then you get access to a special website where it gives student pricing, and on top of the student pricing for these devices, you get 10% off for your order, and you also get 20% off on the care packs, which are accidental damage or low jack coverage. So what that means is if your laptop is stolen, then you can lock it through the BIOS or something like that. I don't look into the details, but that's available, and it's already 20% on the student website, and then it's 10% more on with the code that you receive. Lastly, another cool thing that HP does is, if you don't use your care pack throughout the duration of the agreement, you will get your rebate. So you will get your money back if you don't use your care pack for repairs, or getting something fixed or getting something replaced for your laptop, or getting a device replaced itself. So if you don't use it, you get your money back, which is a cool thing, which is cost effective as compared to buying a protection plan for like $400, $500 and you never use it, and that's just wasted money. But here, if you don't use it, you get it back. So HP did a lot of things right here with the device, with their service. The display just destroys it, mainly because display is how you interact with your computer. Like if you have a broken numpad, like it wouldn't really hurt your experience. Like you can use your keyboard, you can use your touchpad, you can still look at the screen, you can use touch. When display is not great, like you're always looking at the screen. Like you can't use your computer without the screen, which shows the user interface, right? So when despite having great features, great looks, if the screen is bad, it just hurts your entire experience with the laptop, no matter how good it is. I pay a lot of, what would you say, importance to, I think screen quality is like very important to me, It's up to personal preference, I would say. Like some people might be able to ignore the textured appearance or the dots. I can't. I would be someone like back in say 2010, like different phone manufacturers, you would have to choose between, do you want a better resolution or do you want an AMOLED display which will give you better colors? I would go for AMOLED. I just like having good looking screens, and resolution is not that important for me if the colors are bad or it's got bad viewing angles. So it does boil down to personal preference, but for people who really value a good experience, good viewing experience, this flaw was very hard to ignore for me. So one port that I forgot to talk about on the left hand side is obviously this full-size HDMI port. I think it's very convenient to have this around on laptops as opposed to this dongle that I have to use with the MacBook. So it's the USB-C, and you have to carry it around for normal USB-C USB ports, full-size HDMI, and different slots. So yeah, if you're not into dongles, then you have a full-size HDMI available anytime you need.